Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and this year for Christmas, Santa Claus, aka my father, gave me way too much.
Same.
I have this beautiful new microphone that you can see if you are looking at the video on the YouTube. A fancy new 12 colored ring light that can strobe light flash at me, which you won't be able to see because we're recording during the daytime. And a sound mixing board that I have yet to figure out how to use. Mostly because I don't think Zoom audio is really the most appropriate use of the soundboard, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to do this.
We can do it.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a lot. I cried. I also immediately opened the soundboard, and my first thing that came out of my mouth was, I have no fucking idea how to use this.
Well, it's a good time to learn.
I know.
Good time to learn. We're going to get some fun sounds coming out soon. Probably.
Maybe. Hopefully. I don't know. I have to go back to work on Monday.
Ugh, ick. I had to go back to work yesterday. It was not good.
No.
But I'm glad you had a good Christmas. Did your family come in town, or did y'all go somewhere? Weren't y'all supposed to go somewhere?
No. My niece's first birthday was yesterday. So I was supposed to go to Houston, but I have no money.
Yes, fair.
So my mom is in Houston right now for the baby's birthday party, but my dad and I are still here.
Gotcha.
Today it is New Year's Eve of 2021.
But when you're listening to this, it is 2022, and Happy New Year!
Woo woo! For New Year's, I will be doing absolutely nothing.
I will be doing the most.
Yeah,
all the things.
My dad looked at me yesterday and said, I don't really think I want to go anywhere tomorrow night. He's like, that doesn't mean you can't go anywhere, but like, I'm just not feeling it. I said, oh, thank God, because I'm not either.
Drive down to the city because I will sure be working tonight until I'm sure the wee hours of the morning.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then I will be working tomorrow night also, which is going to be the deadest night of the year. So that'll be a blast.
Is it?
January 1st? Everyone goes out New Year's Eve, and then they start their diets on January 1st.
Yes, but January 1st is a Saturday night, and it's the last Saturday before the real world starts back up.
Okay, but the first Saturday when the real world closed down, nobody came in. So it has been very slow at the bar.
Interesting.
My hair is.
It's because everyone's afraid of COVID, so they're drinking alone in their apartments again.
Good times.
It's like nothing has changed in a year.
In 2 years.
No, but New Year's of 2019 into 2020, we still thought that there were good things ahead.
Right. We still had hope in the world.
I was just reading like my time hop and like my list of all the amazing things I was going to do in 2020. And I was like, oh, fuck me, right?
Poor 2 years ago, MK.
It's fine.
Yeah. So I'm glad you had a good Christmas, and you'll have a good New Year's. And thanks everyone for letting us take a week off because we could not figure out how to record. We between the traveling, I went home for the holidays, and my parents live in the 1800s apparently because they do not have Wi-Fi that works in their house.
I was going to say, I didn't hear from you for like a whole week.
Right. You can use one device at a time. They say you can use 3, but they're lying. And if we wanted to watch TV, we couldn't do anything else. So my family got really into Grimm over the holidays, which, fun fact, Denny Fesman is a writer on. He also writes for our show. He's part of my dream team that I've designated. That's
right.
Yes.
I had some Hemlock Grove feelings this week because
Oh,
I don't know if you know anything about the show. And honestly, for your sanity, I hope you don't. But have you ever seen the show Letterkenny?
I have not, but a lot of people really seem to like it.
So Letterkenny is this really lowbrow comedy show about like bumfuck nowhere Canada, which of
Mhm.
course means that all of the humor is relevant to this side of the border, on the border as well. Um, so my brother watches it. And so he was talking about it. So then my dad made me watch some episodes of it. And it really is the absolute dumbest thing I've ever seen, but like in a way that you still want to keep watching it. But at
Right.
the end of every episode, you shake your head like, what the fuck did I just watch? But Kanetio Horn, who plays Destiny in Hemlock Grove, is one of the leads
Oh,
in that show.
oh, how
I
nice.
was like, oh, wait, I know her. And my dad looked at me and go, oh, not in that way. Because usually when I say, oh, wait, I know her while watching TV, I actually know them.
Right.
And they go, no, 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 not, sorry, not like that.
Not in real life.
Because the last time I did that was when we watched the last episode of Hawkeye.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet. Don't tell me about it.
Okay. Well, this is a spoiler, but not really a spoiler. It has nothing to do with the plot. Have you heard what the end credit scene is?
No, no, I have avoided everything. I avoid all spoilers of everything I intend to watch in my life.
You've seen the first episode of Hawkeye, though, right?
Nope, I have not
Oh
seen any
my
episodes.
God. What
We
did
had
you
one
do with your
TV.
Christmas break?
We had one TV and one Wi-Fi device. I couldn't even watch Castle over break
Hawkeye.
because my dad kept trying to read about his guitar site while I was trying to watch my show.
Hawkeye was amazing. I also started Boba Fett.
I forgot that that came out too. How was that?
Boring, but like, not. I don't think the show is going to be boring. It was the first episode, and it was a lot of backstory, and I was a
Mm,
little confused. We'll see.
gotcha. I did catch up on some of my Disney movies though that I hadn't watched since they came out. I watched Jungle Cruise finally.
Yes,
Excellent. My dad's a big fan of The Rock, so he was very excited to watch it with me.
as he should be.
Yes, and then I watched Luca with baby Thomas, my favorite human on the planet.
Silencio Bruno.
I know. Stupido. What did he say? What else? How did he offend people?
Oh, I don't remember. I watched it over the summer, and
Oh, I just watched it.
I was watching it with my cousin, my baby cousin, and I don't was mostly she was showing me every toy she's ever owned while trying to watch this movie, even though she asked if we could watch the movie. So I don't remember all of it. I just saw a really funny tweet that said, what is Disney's grudge against Bruno?
Yes.
Because for those of you who haven't seen the newest Disney movie, which technically I have not either,
Encanto?
Encanto,
I also haven't seen it.
there is a character named Bruno, which I know the music from the movie because it's Lin-Manuel Miranda and because TikTok. And so the song says, oh, we don't talk about Bruno. And then in Luca, they said Silencio Bruno. And so somebody was like, what is Disney's problem with Bruno? What did Bruno ever do?
Ugh. Maybe we'll find out one day.
Maybe.
Third time's the charm. Yeah, I'm
Well,
not watching Canto. Speaking of, I know we are just talking about all the movies we've watched in the past 2 weeks. So I hope this is thrilling to everyone. But we discovered, I'm sorry, I got some in my eye.
This is our 2021 recap.
Yeah, yes. We are doing a full recap of the year from the past 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, something got in my eye. I'm struggling. There's a movie on Netflix that I have not watched yet, but Kate watched it because we learned there's a movie called Vivo that Lin-Manuel Miranda also wrote the music for. And no one's ever heard of it.
I vaguely heard of that.
We were listening to a children's station on the way back from Jackson with little baby Thomas, and it came on. It said Vivo, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and we're like, "What is this? What? How have we never heard of this?" I think it came out this summer, but it's a Netflix movie.
Oh.
So she said it was good, and we watched it.
I mostly watched Christmas movies. I watched a lot of Hallmark movies. I downloaded the Hallmark movie checklist app that sends me a
Ooh,
text notification every single time a new Hallmark movie is about to premiere.
nice.
But I also watched Holiday.
I loved Holiday.
I loved that movie.
It
I
was so good.
I loved that it made fun of itself.
Yes. So sorry. Everything's fine.
Courtney is a criminal.
I might be. It's okay. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's I did a whole lot of nothing.
I also did. I ate a lot.
I
It's
didn't even
okay,
eat a
Jamie.
lot. I
I
got
did.
sick.
Oh no.
You can still probably hear it a little bit. But I mean, I got a COVID test. I'm fine. But no, it's just the annual teachers Christmas break. I finally have a chance for my body to not be running at 100 miles per hour, and children are disgusting. So I am ill.
Yes. That sounds right. I am not currently ill, which is good because I was for like 3 weeks before I went home.
Right.
Also not COVID because I also got tested. But it's been a holiday.
It sure
For sure.
has. I hope Hamilton opens back up. Hamilton in Buffalo was closed for COVID for the last 2 or 3 days.
Has
Yeah,
it
3
played
days.
yet? What shows have you
Yeah,
worked since we've seen you?
just Hamilton. Hamilton had a 3 or 4 week engagement.
Was it amazing?
This is what I will say, and this is what I've told everyone. Hamilton, the show, is wonderful. I have no problems with the show. It is too long. I'm not even going to pretend that I think that that is an appropriate length for a musical. It is too long. Hamilton is not fun to work.
Mm.
And I knew that before they got here because the last time we had them for a month, the same thing happened. They have very, very demanding management, the rules of being backstage. They have a bomb sniffing dog. For what? Who is sending bombs to a touring company of Hamilton?
In Buffalo.
And a lot of the people who make my life miserable, I'm sure it's not their fault. But yeah, it's not a fun show to work. And because everyone was so scared of COVID, because we got Hamilton at the same time as Broadway started shutting down again.
Yeah.
Literally, like, nobody is friendly on the show.
Is what?
Friendly. Like, the cast is like so separated because, I mean, and granted, they're scared and I get it. And obviously, like, it did close because of COVID. So, like, I'm not blaming them, but like, other than the stage managers and the merchandise people, nobody's really nice.
Wonderful.
But I get a whole month off. After Hamilton, our theater is dark for an entire month.
Ooh.
Which is beautiful because we have not had a weekend off since August. We have had something in the theater every single week for the last 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all like,
Feel that. Yeah. Could you settle? I'm sorry. Sadie has joined the chat.
hello, Sadie.
She had her own little holiday with my dog Walker, who is a saint sent from God himself.
Very nice.
She is the best human on the planet, right after Thomas. And she kept her for a week, and it turns out this is my bad dog. What are you getting into? My bad dog that I love so much. So she texted me and she said Sadie knocked her bag over. I don't know if she has all her food bags in here because I separate her food bags by day. And I was like, okay, but she has a key at my apartment. So I was like, if you need to go get some, just let me know or whatever. I can give you money for whatever. And then I was picking her up and I had put 2 big bones, like Christmas bones, and 2 little boxes of Christmas treats. So she'd have plenty of snacks, plenty of Christmas holiday cheer. And I was like, if you don't mind giving her one of the bones on Christmas Day, just like a Christmas present. And she was like, yeah, no problem. And then I picked her up and she was like, I hope you don't mind. I kind of broke it up into 4 days. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's big. That's fine. She did that because she probably thinks I'm a terrible dog owner because Sadie, when she knocked her bag over, pulled all of her treats out of her bag and buried them in my apartment. There was a bone inside of my couch. There were treats under my clothes. Like, this dog had no treat. I'm sure Angelica gave her treats, but I was like, I've never looked like a worse dog parent that I just sent her with a toy. It looked like I sent her with a toy, dog bags, and a leash. And that's it. And some food and one bone.
Ugh, Sadie.
Because she also didn't have her sweater because she pulled it out. And she also didn't have her bark collar because she pulled it out. I had her a whole bag full of stuff. And as you see, she doesn't care.
No, she does
that
not.
She was bad.
She's like, you're talking about me.
I know. I do love her, and I did miss her, but God bless.
Speaking of things that we love and miss, Dead Like Me. What a show.
You sound so excited about it. Full disclosure, we are recording this as we have rolled out of the bed.
Neither of us have had any coffee yet today.
No coffee. I had some chips because I was starving when I woke up.
I have not even done that. Also, because we knew we were going to be having issues recording for Christmas, we front loaded a lot of episodes. So I genuinely feel like it's been a month since I've watched the show.
It may have been.
So, full disclosure, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I tried. That's the best I can say.
Season 1 of Dead Like Me. This is our little recap of the season before we start up season 2. And we were talking about how when we did our season recaps for Hemlock Grove, we had an additional guest.
Me. It was me.
It was always Courtney. And then B, that show was so bloody confusing that we needed an episode just to try to figure out what we had seen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not true now.
Right.
But I do think there are still some question marks that we can discuss and predictions for season 2.
There's still some things to.
There's still some things we can talk about. So what were your overall feelings on Dead Like Me?
So I like it. I like the writing. I think it's very interesting. I think it's not like other things you're going to see on TV, which is good. I'm not as like super into it as I thought I would be, because going into it, I really thought that this show was going to like super hook me, and I was going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to watch the next episode right now, because I've wanted to watch the show for so long and haven't.
Right.
And it doesn't. And it's not like whenever I go to watch the episode, I'm like, oh, I'm watching the episode. This is enjoyable. I'm having a good time. So it's not that I don't enjoy the episodes, but it's not like I'm also watching Castle, as I've said 1,000 times. And I'm like, oh my God, what's the next episode? What is happening? I need to know. And I don't feel that same like pull from Dead Like Me.
That's fair. After season 1 came out, the critical response to the season was about the same thing. The general, wow, I can't speak English. The general vibe of the show from critics after season 1 was that it was really well written, had great humor, but it was kind of an acquired taste. It wasn't like the characters are likable, but that's not enough to like leave you on the edge of your seat.
Right.
Interestingly, like I said, I watched it then, and I remember really, really being obsessed with it. But I think part of that is that I think I just really click with Brian Fuller's worlds, because I also remember being absolutely devastated when Pushing Daisies got canceled. Like, I could not believe that they would get rid of such a good show. And
I've heard that.
the critical response to that was pretty similar. Like, it was a little bit more liked than this show, but I think the way Brian Fuller writes characters is just something that I get.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's always been one of my favorite shows.
That's fair. My friend Austin, I actually don't know if he's watched the show. I should ask him. He should be listening to our podcast anyways, because we've been friends for 25 years. But he got really into Pushing Daisies, I remember. And he also likes Acquired Taste shows, so I bet he super into Brian Fuller.
Right.
This is my first Brian Fuller show, I think. And I mean, I like it. Like I said, I like it. Because I think the writing might be some of the best writing on TV.
Well, and especially at that time. I mean, think about
at that time.
Well, I mean, think about what else was on TV in the fall of 2003.
So I will say, speaking of fall of 2003, I will say I'm glad I didn't watch this when it came out, because I would not have liked it as much. Because I think that's when I was watching, like, Degrassi maybe and Summerland. Is that the right time?
Yeah.
So Degrassi came out 2001. And Summerland, that is not the right one. Let's try again. There's a movie called Summerland from 2020. Came out in 2004. So it would have been around the same time. It would have been a year later, but around the same time. And these shows had so much drama in them. And I was so into the drama that if I were to watch this at the same time, I don't think I would have liked it.
So I'm looking at, based on what age I was in 2003, the shows that were on the WB were probably where the majority of what I was watching were. And in the fall of 2003, WB lineup included Seventh Heaven, Angel, Charmed, Everwood, Gilmore Girls, Grounded for Life, Reba, Smallville, and What I Like About You.
Yes.
Along with that being the year that One Tree Hill, Summerland, and those two both premiered that year. None of the other shows on that list mean anything. So That's So
Raven came out. I was real into that one.
We had Will and Grace was on, The West Wing was on, NYPD Blue was on. This was in the height of the American Idol mania.
Yeah.
This was the premiere of NCIS. All three CSIs were still on. So it was just probably not. I mean, and that's just what was on network TV.
Yeah.
So I also don't know that I necessarily had cable, so I was probably only watching network TV.
In 2003, I was 11. I think we did have cable at that time. I think we had, yes, we did have cable. So
yeah, I mean, I was 11. A lot of the humor in this show was probably not quite appropriate.
Probably not.
But it is interesting. I will say the one thing that I find the most interesting of rewatching it is how differently I feel about Joy.
Because
when I watched it as a teenager, I thought she was the worst mother. I hated her.
Tortually. And she's the best.
She is. Also, Betty had a much stronger impact on me this
The
time
second time around?
And I think it's because I don't necessarily know that I watched it to watch it all in order. The first time I just watched it. But I was devastated when Betty left this time. The first time I don't think I cared that much.
Yes. I obviously I didn't watch it in the first, but I was also devastated. I think that's another thing that wouldn't have had as much of an impact on me, especially like maybe if I watched it when it came out week to week, it would have been too long apart for me to have really like bonded with Betty, I feel like, because you wait a week and I've watched an episode of Summerland, I've watched an episode of Degrassi, I've watched all these other things that have so much going on that I don't connect with these characters as much. But watching it, and I mean, I guess, we're watching 2 a week, so it's not like we're, that much different, I guess.
Right.
But I think it would have been too separated. And now watching it more concisely, I guess, and with a lens of like really paying attention, it definitely had a bigger effect.
I think the thing that worries me the most about myself is that I don't. The one thing that hasn't changed is what worries me the most about myself.
And is that your love for Callum Blue?
Yeah. I was obsessed with Mason. Like not even like just kind of a little bit. Like I was obsessed. I like based my type of guys not on Callum Blue, on Mason.
Yeah. That's not great.
I don't think that's changed.
I don't know that it has for you.
Like if a scummy British like grunge rock kid walked up to me right now and said some awful filth that comes out of Mason's mouth, I can't say that I wouldn't go home with him.
You gotta work with your taste in men. Just a bit.
I'd
like your 2022 project.
I'd also go home with Callum Blue and Princess Diaries 2 if that helps. But okay, in Princess Diaries 2, I did not think he was that attractive because he was the good guy and he was paired up against Chris Pine, who I'm sorry, but Chris Pine.
Right. Fair.
And then after falling in love with Chris Pine, I found out that Andrew Jacobi was Mason, and I had to rewatch the movie and rethink my choices.
Yeah. I mean, maybe go for the good guy, Callum Blue, but like non-Scientology Callum Blue.
Is he a Scientologist?
I think he was, and I think he's not now.
I know he joined that weird cult for a minute and then was like, this is probably not a good idea.
Which weird cult? There's a few of those.
The one that everybody in Smallville joined.
NXIVM.
Yes.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he was in that for like a very short time, but he was not involved in any of the scandal stuff. And he was like, got out well before anything like came out about them. And
yeah.
And he also like is super private. He has no social media because he's just like, y'all are kind of crazy. I don't need this in my life.
Yeah.
Which I respect. Makes it difficult to find out things about him because I'm a crazy person. Yes. But I do respect. Because Hollywood's a messed up place.
Whew. Ain't it? Sure enough. Yeah, so not messed up is our show. I don't know, that was a terrible segue. My brain is not awake enough yet.
No. Well, I was gonna say we've talked about Mason, we've talked about Betty.
Well, what was your favorite episode this season?
My favorite episode. I think my favorite episode, it's weird. I don't have a favorite episode. I have favorite parts of things because, like I said, the characters are really what like
Yeah.
is important to me. So like, I guess if I had to pick a favorite episode, it would truthfully be the weird flashback. Or no, not the weird
Really?
flashback. No, the one after that. The Reaper's Day Off filing episode.
Yes. That
Because
was, what was that one called? I've forgotten every name of everything.
it was called, I don't know. I don't know. It was either like the second or third to last episode.
So Nighthawks.
It was not Nighthawks. I did really like Nighthawks too.
That was the self-evaluation test, and that's the one with all the flashbacks.
Yes, I liked the present
You know,
day stuff in Nighthawks.
I think that might have been my favorite episode
Really?
because I was like, I really didn't like the flashbacks, but everything else that happened that
Yeah.
episode, the like other 5 minutes of that episode, was really good. I really enjoyed it, and it really it makes you change how you feel about Daisy. It has like all this fun art talk in it. And
That's true. No, Vacation, the second to last episode. That's the one that I really, really liked. Because the Daisy Mason evolution in that episode is great. Roxy making a friend. Love it. The Joy and Reggie stuff and the like actually standing up for themselves against Clancy. I really appreciated that. I don't know, but like I said, it's the character stuff that I really like. So like I like the arc of Daisy.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. We talked about Betty, we talked about Mason. Let's talk about Daisy.
Okay.
Because Daisy, we were both pissed in Daisy's first episode that was what they dared to give us after Betty. I could not remember everything, but I remembered Daisy's last thoughts. And I remembered that I felt more attachment to Daisy than Betty the first time I watched it. So I knew it had to change. It just took a hell of a long time to get there.
Oh, didn't it? There were like 4 episodes where I was just like, oh my gosh, why is she still here?
Yeah. Seriously. And like I get giving her an arc, and like the realization that she's so broken hurts more because we hated her.
Yeah.
But God, that was a slow arc.
It was. And to only have like 13 episodes in a season, you don't need to take up half of the episodes to define one character's arc that we didn't even know until the 5th episode.
Right, because think about it. Rube and Roxy are so underdeveloped at this point. Like we have Roxy's death story, but then the next episode she's in, she's back to being grumpy. Like that didn't do anything for her character arc. I think that the flaw in the writing is that some of the tertiary characters, because it's a comedy, there's a static element to the characters that doesn't fit the actual type of writing that exists.
I think that's true. And
like true. The comedy doesn't work if Roxy's not a bitch. It just doesn't. Right. But then you give us all of this heart to Roxy, and then you're like, shit, the comedy doesn't work if Roxy's not a bitch, so I have to pretend I didn't just tell you all of that.
Right. And I think you look at like, you know, we're changing writers so much, and like, but we have so many recurring writers, I guess, because we do have Danny Fesman and Victor, is that his name? Harry Victor, yeah. Harry Victor, that like write together so much, and they write like every other episode. And so like they're able to develop the characters how they want to, but then when someone else comes in to write those characters, I mean, you know, this happens, so there's already a script and stuff written, but when they're working with these characters and trying to get them to a certain way. It's like those episodes back up the development, I guess, if that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
we have these two writers who are very often who've written probably half the episodes, if not more, and they're developing characters. And then you have all these other people coming in, and it's like they want to focus on something else. And it's like, well, we can't just like change focuses suddenly. And I feel like that
Right.
happens quite a lot.
So there is this role that exists in television, and British TV is much better about it, and it's called the showrunner. We've talked about this on the show before. In America, they don't call it the showrunner. They usually call it the supervising producer, or like for example, in Grey's Anatomy, Shonda Rhimes created the show. But Krista Veerhoff has been the supervising producer since episode 1. She is the one who makes sure that the characters are doing things that are true to the character, even though there's new writers all the time.
Yeah.
The supervising producer for Dead Like Me is a man named Steve Beers. Now, he is one of the executive producers for This Is Us. He's also an executive producer on Prison Break and Bones. So he was the supervising producer part of the time in Dark Angel. So he has this is not the first time he's done that.
Right.
And I think that for the most part, he is successful in that. I don't think, because the show does not take place day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4.
Right.
Like, there's obviously large chunks of time that happen between things. The first episode of the season and the last episode of the season are a year apart.
Right.
But there's only 13 episodes. So there's obviously chunks of time that we're not seeing. And for the most part, characters are developing in a reasonable way that you could believe that that development would happen in a year. But I think this is a flaw in Brian Fuller's shows, because there's so much focus on character and world. It's hard to keep all of that consistent.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's a flaw in, you said his name's Stephen Beers?
Yeah.
Because, so I haven't seen all of those shows you listed, but I have seen the first season of This Is Us, and I've seen the first season or 2 seasons of Bones. And I feel the same about those shows that I do about this one. Watching This Is Us, which I can't watch anymore because it's too sad, but it definitely had some of the same qualities of it would develop. Have you watched it?
No, I've seen like 3 episodes.
Okay. So it would develop one character, and then it was like that character didn't matter for a minute. Like, and then it was like you came back to him, and it was like, it's too long. You've waited too long to come back to this character. You've reverted them back. And I feel the same with Bones, because I like the writing on Bones also. I like the storyline. I love the idea of what Bones is about. And I love the characters. I mean, it's Emily Deschanel, and I forgot the guy's name.
David Boreanaz.
That's the one. And so I like them, but I feel like it's, even though they are very clearly developing as characters, it's too far out again.
Well, especially early in Bones, I feel like in the first few seasons of Bones, Angela's character was so static.
Yes.
And it wasn't until they needed her character to be something more that they put in any effort to it.
Is that Emily Deschanel's character?
No, that is the other girl who works with them, the artist.
Gotcha.
I apologize. I do not know that actress's name off the top of my head. But I mean, because they spent so much time with Bones and Booth, that it was like the rest of their team was just those tertiary characters. They were just
Mhm.
there to be there. And then they were like, this show's not that interesting. I know, let's make Angela and Zach real people.
Yeah.
So it may just be that he's not a very good supervising producer. And so he's letting the story control the arc,
I think
which
yes.
which would make sense based on all of the critical reception of the show being that the writing is super good and everything else is just kind of there.
Mhm. Because it is an interesting. I mean, if you look at all three of these shows, This Is Us, Bones, and Dead Like Me, they're
Yeah,
all such interesting concepts. They're not. I mean, Bones falls into the same category as like a CSI, like a Criminal Minds, but it's different enough. It's not.
right.
It's new. It's still new compared to all of the rest of them, and it's the characters have their own storylines, and it's not the same. And the same thing with This Is Us. It's like the new sad show of its time. Like it's not. Nothing else is written quite like that, and so it's like the writing is there, but the show
Yes.
just doesn't develop in a way that like grasps you.
Yeah. And I think that, so like I said, the critics kind of felt the same way. The critic consensus, I'm reading this straight from Rotten Tomatoes to cite my sources. The critic consensus for season 1 of Dead Like Me says Dead Like Me is a required aftertaste, but the series' acidic wit and wry observations about the simple pleasures of life and death overcome the deficit in likable characters. So they actually said that the characters weren't likable,
I
which,
could see that the characters themselves aren't necessarily likable people, but they're good characters for a TV show. Like they
um,
have good stories, but I don't necessarily like if I were to meet these people in a room, I'm not going to hang out with them probably. Any of them.
yeah. So, like, the top critic review says you have to like the ghost leading you into the beyond, and Muth's character makes that almost impossible. So, George. George's character itself is truthfully why a lot of people did not like the show. And I think that that is a fair critique.
Yes.
Um, she she's whiny. She does not care about anybody else. She's very selfish. She's exactly what would happen if an 18-year-old was stunted in their growth for all of the rest of their time. I don't necessarily know that that's relatable to the people watching the show.
I think that's fair because I think that she all of her character development comes from other people's development. And so like you see Joy and Reggie develop and that's what changes George's feelings. You see her dad's reaction to her death and that changes George. It's not like anything she does or anything her as a person is helping her develop in any way or change anyway. It's always something that someone else has already done the work for, I guess.
And she also can't develop without breaking the rules. She can't make a decision without having messed it up first. Mm-hmm. She doesn't show any ability to just figure out the right thing to do.
Yeah. Which, like, fair, she's 18, but also she's now
like I said, when I watched it as a teenager, I liked it because I related to it. And then as an adult, which truthfully, this really is not marketed towards teenagers. It's marketed towards adults.
Yeah.
As an adult, I do not relate to her anymore because I just don't get it. I don't get the choices.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that is a fair criticism. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to like a show when you hate the main character.
Yeah.
Granted, Grey's Anatomy has successfully done that for 18 years. Because I genuinely don't know anyone whose favorite character on Grey's Anatomy is Meredith.
No. Absolutely not.
So there's that. It's possible.
But there was also, like, with Meredith, there's a lot of character development. You don't have to like her to this for the storyline to revolve around her to be good still. Like,
Right. And there are
which is
moments that I really liked her. There are
right.
just other moments where I'm like, you are a wet rag.
Right. Which is where this show I feel like is lacking. There's not really any moment that I feel like, what am I trying to say? Like, I don't think George is leading this story in any way. She's supposed to be
Right.
because she's the main character, but it's truly about the other people, and it's the tertiary characters, like you said, are much more like in depth, much more like I care more about them than I do about George.
And so I will say, I think the most important slash most interesting character in the show is Rube.
Mm-hmm.
Rube is the Hermione of the show.
Yeah.
In that he's a deuter antagonist or a deuter agonist, which is supposed to be the secondary leader instead of the main leader, but he's infinitely more interesting.
Yeah.
I also feel let down by what we got of Rube in season 1. We kept having these like teases of something coming, something happening, something important, and then it never answered those questions.
It's another moment where it just drug it out too far. And by the time you get your answer, I'm sure there will be an answer at some point. And by the time you get your answer, you don't care. I feel like I mean, I'm going to care because I'm sure it's a very big storyline, but by the time I get there, I'm just like, oh, now we finally get to know. Like,
right. Like the episode, I think it was episode 3 when we had that scene where Rube was eating dinner by himself.
Yeah. It may have even been 2. It was in the very beginning.
It was so close to the beginning. And it was, to this day, even from 10 years ago when I watched it the first time, that scene is what I remembered. That moment, it was like, I know that this is important. I know that this means something. I, right now, full disclosure, do not remember all the details of what the answer is.
Mm-hmm.
But I remembered that scene.
Because it was dragged out so long.
Right. And that's the thing is, if it had been answered or even another hint, even if they just gave you a piece of the puzzle in every episode and never answered it till season 2, I would be okay with that. It was like that episode had a tiny piece of it. Episode 5, after Betty dies and he yells at death and slams the door, is a moment. Mm-hmm. The final episode, when he has that moment with the yoga guy about having loved someone his whole life, is a moment. They were too spaced out that even though I know those 3 moments all go together and will mean something in season 2, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons. Have you watched the TV show The Middle?
Yes.
Okay. So
The Middle, my problem with The Middle is that I treated it like a true 90s sitcom, and I watched an episode here, an episode there. I did not follow it in any sense of continuity.
See, so I watched it over quarantine. I watched the entire show, and that was the first time. I'd seen like a couple episodes here and there because Rachel really liked it, but I never sat down and watched it. And I watched it, and I think that is one of the best written sitcoms that has ever existed because of the continuity and because of like, there were things that happened in season 1 that they had so many callbacks to in like season 4 and 5. And like, it wasn't necessarily important per se. Like there's a scene where they like break a hole in the wall when they're like fighting. And like that hole in the wall is like represented throughout the entire show. And it's like, that's not important, but it's like stuff like that, the little stuff that they keep continuity to. And then they also, obviously the big storyline is very good, well written too. And that's why it's one of my favorite shows on television.
See, I really like that because I get so angry about continuity, even in things that existed before continuity. Like, everyone who watches the show knows that I do not watch current television.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't exist before 1995, I've probably not seen it. I remember when I binge watched, because at that point I'd already seen every episode, but I didn't watch it all the way through. I binge watched The Golden Girls as if it was a show with continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Mistake. Because first of all, the number of siblings Dorothy has changes like 8 times. The actors who play those siblings changes I don't know how many times.
Mm-hmm.
In season 1, Rose and Blanche get into a fight about how Rose thinks Blanche's use of plastic surgery is ridiculous. And then in season 2, we find out Rose had a nose job.
Yes. I remember watching that.
It's like, I'm sorry, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then in things like Columbo, which Columbo was made as like movie of the week, basically, even though it technically has seasons, it was like 2-hour episodes on Sunday nights, movie of the week style. When the same actor shows up as a different character 3 weeks later, I am bothered by it.
Yeah.
Granted, the actor was usually Patrick McGowan, and I love him and he can do anything. So like I wasn't super bothered by it. But like I look for that continuity. So when things are supposed to be written in a more modern television era and they don't, I get bothered.
And I think that's one of the problems with Dead Like Me. It's not out of context. I don't think anything really time-wise is missing.
I do, but only with the secondary characters. I think Roxy, Mason, and Daisy all have things that happen that do not make sense based on the development that happened in the episode previous.
Yes. No, I think it's more of the flow. Like, I don't think there's anything that specifically contradicts itself. Like, if they happened, it's not like this happened, that can't happen because of this other reason.
Oh, yeah. No, they just act out of character.
I think the flow of the show and the continuity that way is what's missing. And that's a bummer.
It is. Now, I will also say that after season 1, I'm trying to find, I should do more like research before I start recording these things, because when Dead Like Me was on, obviously there's all of the drama of Brian Fuller leaving and the executive producers changing and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find, there's no information that I can find about the what happened between season 1 and 2. Like, were they for sure going to make a season 2? Was that that always a plan?
I think I tried to look that up and also couldn't find it.
I do know that apparently that news article that they linked to doesn't exist. I love that when there's links to news articles and they don't exist.
They don't exist, yeah.
I do know that, so I don't believe that there was ever not an intention to make season 2, because it basically came on same time next year, same as it would any time. I do know that then after season 2, there was 3 years between season 2 and the movie. The movie was also a direct-to-DVD movie, and it was basically the fans begged for there to be some kind of closure. So what that means going forward is that season 2, the ending is going to irk us. I'm just prepared for that now, because anytime that you watch a show that you know, like, okay, Community always planned 6 seasons in a movie. That was kind of always their idea of making the show. So at the end of season 6, when the movie was planned, you knew that they intended it that way. When you have shows like Veronica Mars, when they even when they aired the season 2 finale of Veronica Mars, they were still in limbo. They did not know that they were being canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I found out the day I watched that finale that the show was canceled. And I remember being...
Season 2, I thought they had 3 seasons.
Or season 3, sorry. Season 3, you're right. But I found out that the show was canceled the day I watched the finale. And I was pissed because it wasn't even a good season finale, let alone a series finale. And I waited how many years before they made anything else?
Like 10 or 15?
Right. So for this, knowing that a movie got made and it didn't get made right away and it didn't get released anywhere except for DVD means that the end of season 2 was a big cancellation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the world we're about to enter.
Right.
On the other hand, the season 2 Rotten Tomatoes critic score is a 100%.
That's intense.
Yeah. Obviously, it could not have been all good because it got canceled.
Right.
But the same critics who said that there were no likable characters in season 1 gave season 2 a 100%.
Well, I wonder if the show didn't end because it wasn't fantastic, but had more to do with drama behind the scenes.
Which is definitely possible.
Because that's what it feels like if it's rated so highly.
Right. We're going to look at a Screen Rant article right now.
Okay.
Because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Without his leadership, okay, this is what the Screen Rant article says. Following frequent clashes with MGM over the direction of Dead Like Me, Fowler left the show after 5 episodes, which we knew. Without his leadership, the second season took a noticeable downturn in quality and was canceled in 2004.
All right.
So Screen Rant says that it was not good. Rotten Tomatoes says that it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So what do you think, prediction wise, we're going to learn, and what are they not going to tell us that they should have told us in season 2?
Well, prediction, I think this is okay. Mandy Patinkin is not in the movie.
Okay. Spoilers.
He is in every episode of season 2, but he's not in the movie. And I think one of the reasons, again, I've never seen the movie, so this is not me knowing anything. I don't remember how the show ends. I don't think that Rube's character gets what we want. I don't think that the storyline for Rube is worth Mandy having come back.
Gotcha.
So I think that's part of the problem. I think that's why he wouldn't come back for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I
wonder, based on that prediction, if we're going to get him leaving like Betty left. Like if he gets to, I mean, he's the one who's been around the longest. He's got a lot going on. If he gets settled with whatever is going on in his life, that he would leave.
That would be a satisfying ending.
I agree. I would be happy with that. That's the only thing I would accept for him to not be in the movie.
Correct. Personal hopes and desires. I hope Daisy and Mason fall in love.
Yeah, I would like that.
I hope that Roxy is in more than 4 episodes.
God bless.
I hope that Joy and Clancy get a divorce. I just remembered that I do remember how the show ends.
erase. You need one of those like Men in Black cameras.
Right. Actually, no. The thing that I know that happens, I don't know if it happens in the show or the movie. I just know one thing that definitely happens.
Mm-hmm.
So ignore me. That's the hardest thing of watching this, but having like if we were rewatching, say, like Grey's Anatomy, where I've seen every episode 850,000 times, I know exactly what I know and what I don't know. Because I watched this so long ago, I don't remember if things that I remember are real or when they happened or how they happened.
Mm-hmm.
I just have like vague memories of things. So there's
goodness.
that.
Yeah. Well.
Basically, my prediction for season 2 is that the characters are still going to be the only thing worth watching. Not to say that the writing's bad, but I don't think that the show is compelling as a story. I think the characters are all interesting characters. I think that they each, it's like when you read the Game of Thrones books and each chapter is from a different character's point of view, and that's how you like know the story. The reason Game of Thrones is so compelling as a book, even though it is a long, boring, insane book, is because you're switching characters so often that you understand every character you are introduced to. I think that this show has that aspect of character, despite what the critics of season 1 thought. I just don't think that the overarching plot is enough.
I think based on the storyline, it should be, and I agree it's not, because it is such an interesting story and it does have, the characters do have good arcs that I think the plot should be enough and it should be captivating, and it is just not.
I mean, but how many times do you see that where you read the, like a blurb, like a situation for like an improv sketch and you're like, oh my God, could you imagine how great that would be? How funny that would be? And it never quite gets there.
Yeah. And I think that has to do with like, I mean, you know, we all have our own imaginations. And if we're sitting there, we read something that is just off the wall, where like, I know me, I'm going to think about the craziest thing that could happen. And then I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's not what happened. And so like.
And I think Brian Fuller kind of felt the same way we do. And that's why he left the show, because this man came up with the idea of a world where when people die, they go into corporate hell where there are levels of jobs and you're stuck on Earth, but you can't do any of the things that made you happy. And like, it is just such a comment on society. It has the potential to be so deep and so metaphorical. And I can see why Mandy Patinkin would have loved the idea of the show and the character that he plays. And it never quite reaches the social commentary that I think it was intended to be.
Yeah. And I think that maybe Showtime was the wrong network.
Yeah.
Because I think it was meant to be a commentary, but to be that commentary, it can't be as comedic as it wanted to be. It needed to be more of like a, tried to use.
I think the comedy isn't the problem. I think the time.
Well, I also think like if you're going to write that, you're one like a satirical comedy. Whereas I feel like they tried to do like sitcom-y comedy.
Yes, but I mean the time as in 2003. Because could you imagine, not exactly the same, obviously, because it's different, but could you imagine that concept, that level of comedy on Netflix right now?
Yes, I think it would
be incredibly successful because A, the format's different, B, the prevalence of societal commentary as entertainment is different. The viewers and what we are accustomed to watching on TV. I mean, think about that list that we just said of what was on that show on TV at that time. If people are used to watching Seventh Heaven and ever would, they're not going to watch this and understand it the same way.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So I think that Brian Fuller, and I've said this about Pushing Daisies as well, Brian Fuller writes brilliant worlds that are ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have the people skills to follow through, because like he had a fight with MGM. They were trying to change the direction of the show and he quit and backed down. And then the show got turned into not what he intended it to be.
Right.
If he were in a situation like an Amazon Prime show or a Netflix show where he had much more control, he had a better relationship with the people making the show, he had more support behind his ideas from the start,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we would have the same complaints.
I agree.
We'd have different complaints because he's not perfect by any means, but the complaints that we have, I think, are a lot because of a mid-show change in direction.
Yeah.
Which might explain why season 2 has better critic reviews,
Mm-hmm.
not better fan reviews, but better critic reviews, in that it didn't have that weird stopgap.
Yeah. I agree. My predictions, I think they have to tell us what happened with Rube. I mean, there's no other way. I predict that we are not going to get as much Roxy as we want. I think that the show feels like it told us about Roxy and now she's just another character based on how it's gone since then, which I don't like, but I think that that's going to happen. I don't know if this is something I think or if it's something I want. I want George's family to know she's George. Okay. I think that could happen. I want Clancy to not be a character anymore. I'd be okay if he just left the show.
Just forever, gone.
I don't need him. I need Joy and Reggie, and that's it. I think Daisy and Mason are gonna like fall in love, or we're gonna start the first episode and it's gonna be like it never happened. One of those things is gonna happen. Like those are the things that I think are gonna happen. One of those two. But I mean, Mason, like, he really has developed a lot as a character, like maybe more than anyone else, because you see him go through this, like, he's like a really messed up person and he does these things that are like, why would you do this? You steal cars, do this. But then he also has like the kindest heart when it comes down to it. And we see him do that so much.
Again, yes, until the season finale.
Yes.
Like he has like 3 episodes in a row where he's like growing and opening up. And then the last episode of the season is just, let's get him laid.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by like the continuity isn't there in terms of character growth.
Right. So I don't know if we're going to see more of that with him going back and forth every episode, or if he's actually going to grow. Who's left? Is that everyone? I think I got everyone.
I think you did.
We don't really have that many characters. It feels like we do, but we really don't.
We don't. And I think, again, time and place. Mm-hmm. Now we have the return of ensemble shows. Like, think about how many main characters Grey's Anatomy has. Think about how many characters people had to learn about and then die in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
How many main characters does This Is Us have? Like, we're back to these shows where you're following 8 people's stories. I don't think in 2003 that was something people were okay with doing.
Yeah. I mean, Degrassi did that. Did you ever watch Degrassi?
Did I watch Degrassi? I got my dad blocked the N on our cable network because we watched Degrassi so much.
My mom told me I couldn't watch it.
And then this man had the nerve to, while in Toronto, go to Degrassi Street and take pictures of the high school and come back and show us that he went to Degrassi and not unblock the channel.
How dare he?
So yes,
dare he?
Like I was talking, one of a family friend's girlfriends, I looked at my dad the other day. I was looking at her and I go, thoughts. Because my dad and we compare people to random celebrities, like who they look like. And I go, I pointed to her, I go, young Nina Dobrev. He said, Degrassi, not Vampire Diaries. I said, thank you. Okay. Like that's, yes. So yes. But
yeah, they had that many
Degrassi
characters.
was a soap opera. While it wasn't in the way that we watched it because of our age, Degrassi was a soap opera. Degrassi was never intended to be a primetime TV thing. It just,
and it has so many generations because of that. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
So because soap operas have always done that thing, but think about how niche soap opera fans are. Primetime TV was like one family, one group of friends. Like even Friends having 6 main characters was a lot.
Yeah.
So this whole like having an A plot and a B plot and a C plot in some of these episodes, I understand why at the time. Like even in like Seventh Heaven was on at that same time. Obviously Seventh Heaven, the family was huge.
Right.
How many episodes actually had all 8 kids' stories in them?
Right.
No. Like that's just not how TV was. And that's why I think something like Netflix, where you don't have like, you could have a Netflix series of Dead Like Me where one episode was literally just about Roxy and the next episode was just about Mason, because you weren't waiting a week in between.
Right.
You binged all 12 episodes at once. It didn't matter that people weren't in every episode.
Yes. I agree.
Whereas this, with the space between it, you're like, well, shit, we haven't seen Roxy in 3 weeks.
Right. It's like, is she even still on the show? Did she just get cut? Like, what happened?
Right. So, I don't know.
So, I have, oh, go ahead.
This podcast has changed the way I watch TV, which I was always a very analytical person watching TV, but I don't enjoy things as much anymore because I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
See, I'm really good at separating myself from things. Like, you are not. I watch TV and I know that I've been watching Emily in Paris. That show
is garbage.
It's garbage. And I love it. I love it so much. And me and my mom we started the 2nd season and we watched the first 5 episodes. And she was like, it's a train wreck you can't look away from. I was like, that's exactly it. I was like, and I know it's garbage and I still love it.
When I want to watch a train wreck that you can't look away from, for some reason, I can't do that with scripted television because I feel judgmental of people writing scripts that are train wrecks. That's why reality TV is such a big part of my life, because I'm like, you know what? That's just because people are messy. Like, no one paid money for these to be the words that came out of your mouth. That's just what you said.
Right. Yes.
Like, The Masked Singer. I just want everyone to know that I was correct about all of my predictions on The Masked Singer.
Oh, nice.
My parents were laughing as I jumped up and down and danced around the living room because I was correct. I should be a judge on that show.
Nice.
And I am the only person who is excited about the next Bachelor.
I didn't watch this season of The Bachelorette, so I don't have any feelings about the next Bachelor.
I will say, when it comes to drama, it was lacking, but it was because she was truly like the best Bachelorette. She just did not put up with it.
That makes sense.
So it wasn't as messy. And the guys on her season were like much more mature. The guy who got picked from her season to be the next Bachelor, everyone is judging and hating because he is a very white bread vanilla football player man, exactly what every other Bachelor has ever been. And they're like, there were so many amazing men of color of interesting families and stuff on the show, so you picked the most vanilla man on the show, which I respect those complaints. The man that they picked in the episode where her students planned the dates, he built a fort with them and cried about wanting to be a dad. And I said, I don't care about anyone else in the entire world except this man.
That's fair. That's fair.
So that's just my ovaries making decisions for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely. All right. I have one more thing
Yes,
I'll discuss for
please.
Dill Like Me before we leave out. I think this is a fun activity. If you hate it, that's okay.
Okay.
But now that we're 20 years later from the show, roughly,
do you want to recast the show?
I do want to recast the show.
Oh my God. Okay. Just the main cast, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
not all the dead people.
No, just the main cast. Like, who would you put as George? You need someone with apathy, but more character.
Trying to think. Someone who is young and naive, but like still has a little bit of an edge to them. Like, you can't have a Disney star kind of young person.
We could do a Emma Roberts, maybe. Is she too peppy? Because you see her, you haven't watched American Horror Story.
I was gonna say no. I mean, I don't know. Her eyebrows make me angry on an unrational level, but that's not entirely her fault. I've seen her father's eyebrows.
Mm-hmm. I think I would cast from American Horror Story. You've probably seen her in something else. Tessa Farmiga, I guess is how you say her name. She's in The Final Girl. She's in American Horror Story. She's in The Nun. She's in a lot of scary things. I don't see anything that's not scary that she's in. So I don't know if you would recognize her, but I will show you a picture of her. Maybe.
Well, I can also probably if I actually take the time to edit this. Okay. I don't know who that is. I was going to say, I can probably, if I take the time to edit this correctly, put a picture of her up there. But
that'd be fun.
I'm not making any promises.
That'd be fun. But yeah, she is very apathetic in a lot of her roles, very kind of just there, but she has more character than Ellen Muth, I guess you would say.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. She can play anyone.
That's who I would cast.
Mm-hmm. She's a good pick too.
I don't know the girl you picked, but so I'm not saying this over her because
yes.
I just have no frame of reference for that. But I would cast Florence because she has the ability to be soft, but like also the most epic resting bitch face I've ever seen.
She is so good at playing any role.
Yes.
Because I watched her in Midsummer, I watched her in Black Widow, and I watched her in Little Women. Those are all very vastly different roles, and she nailed all of them. So, like, I have no doubt she could also play this role better than Ellen Muth. No shade. We like her. I like her, but
she also like isn't really even an actress anymore either. Like it's not like I'm offending her craft. She like doesn't care.
Right. So who would you make Mason?
This is hard because
I know
we know how I feel about Mason. There's really not many people. Part of it's the age, because if we were making it now, would Mason really be the same? Because in 2003, you had like the Callum Blue Russell Brand type was kind of popular.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really what a bad boy is anymore.
Right.
But
I might, this is off the wall, but I would cast Bo Burnham. Because he's good at playing like a jerk.
He is.
And he has a lot of character in him.
My problem is, and this is because one of the things that I find the most strange about Mason's character is everyone else acting like he's not attractive. And I don't find Bo Burnham to be the right kind of attractive to like get away with like being super handsome and still having people tell you to your face you're not?
I think it depends on his role, because I've seen him in some things where he has been very attractive in them.
But
And
I think
then
even when he's attractive, he looks goofy.
I feel like I've seen things where he's not.
Okay.
But I don't remember, there was a movie, I don't remember which one it was though, that he played like this club guy who was like a musician at a club or something, and he like fit the role. It wasn't his
Okay.
typical look. So I think he would be my pick for Mason.
What about a Cole Sprouse?
Maybe he's a little too like depressed, I guess, for lack of a better word.
I mean, Mason put a drill in the back of his head.
Okay, yes, but I think he was being a moron.
That's true. Cole Sprouse does have a little bit of a too smart to him.
He's too smart and too dark, I think. But he would be the right age and the right look, I think.
I'm like,
what is happening in your world?
I Googled scummy looking celebrity men, and somehow that came up to the 57 sexiest men in the world right now. Apparently, scummy and sexy mean the same thing.
Not in my world, but all right.
They surely do not. And none of these men look dirty enough. What about, okay, and this is so out there, Pete Davidson.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
That is Mason energy on the next level.
Definitely.
Like, he's not quite as attractive as Callum Blue or as Bo Burnham, but like the chaotic stupidity energy is so there.
Yes, I
also
agree.
He looks dirty.
Yes, but he's apparently also a very kind person.
Yes, I am obsessed with him, but it makes me uncomfortable that I am obsessed with him. That's kind of how I felt when I first started to actually like Post Malone. I was like, I am uncomfortable with this.
See, I'm still not there yet.
Post Malone, I realized I want to adopt him and take him to rehab and wash his hair for him. Like, I just feel the need to fix his life because it's a mess.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. So, let's recast Betty Daisy as one role.
Okay.
That doesn't leave.
They're just so different, though.
I know. So now you have to combine it.
I hate that.
That would be a good Emma Roberts role.
That could be a good Emma Roberts role. I was also thinking of a Taylor Louderman, who's a Broadway actress. I know
that name.
She was the original Regina George in the Mean Girls musical. But she's like very peppy and blonde and sweet, and can play dumb a little bit, but like has a heart of gold.
And like a Brittany Snow.
Yes. Like, but not Brittany Snow now. Brittany Snow 10 years ago.
And like John Tucker Must Die.
Yeah. So actually Brittany Snow 20 years ago, so that doesn't work. But Taylor Louderman's like a Brittany Snow 20 years ago. So.
Gotcha. Fair. So that leaves Roxy.
I will just say that there's only one, before we get to Roxy, there's only one potential replacement for Joy, because I still think Cynthia Stevenson could play the mom in absolutely anything. But I would also be open to recasting her with, God, what is her name? The mom from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody / Supernatural.
She's too happy.
Not in Supernatural, she's not.
I haven't seen Supernatural.
Oh, because she also plays the mom in Supernatural. So she's...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what I've seen of her, she's too happy, but I believe you that she is not in Supernatural. I
Kim
don't
Rhodes,
know.
that's her name. Kim
What is it?
Rhodes. Kim Rhodes.
That's right. That's right. I don't know who I'd recast as Joy. Um,
I don't know. I think Cynthia Stevenson
Hard
could
one.
still.
I think so too. Potentially, from Grimm, the woman who plays Rosalie, because I thought she was Cynthia Stevenson whenever I saw her on there.
I don't know.
She's not. Bree something, I think is her name. Bree Turner.
I don't know her.
She's on Grimm. She's on like lots of movies and stuff that I've seen. But I've only seen her, like, I only knew her as a person on Grimm. And I really thought she was Cynthia Stevenson whenever I saw her on Grimm. So I think she could also play her probably. Our reboot recast.
Okay.
Do you have a Reggie substitute?
Reggie is hard because I don't know a lot of like 10-year-old actors.
I don't either. I think maybe the youngest daughter, the original youngest daughter from, what's that show called? Is it American Mom or something?
Oh, I never saw that, but I know what you're talking about.
Well, they changed in the newest or the next newest season. They changed who played her.
Okay.
And I think the original actress in that one could have been Reggie. She's great. I like her.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, here. IMDb's list of the top 25 child actors between 10 and 16.
Oh. Do you know any of them?
This is incorrect. Because Chloe Grace Moretz is not still 16. She's 24. This girl, oh no, she's also 21. She looks very young though. Yeah, I don't know when that list was made, but it's wrong. 15 child stars to look out for in the 2020s.
That feels more accurate.
Yeah. No, she's too nice looking.
I think this girl that I've forgotten her name from American Mom, she's like sassy and smart. She's very similar to Reggie already.
Okay.
And I think she would do great. Oh, that's obviously not what it's called because I looked up American Mom and it brought me Mom.
Oh no.
American Housewife. That's what it's called.
Okay.
She is named something Julia Butters.
Oh, I was actually looking at her. Julia Butters. She was on one of my lists.
She is excellent. She's on an episode of Criminal Minds.
Yeah. Okay.
She was on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I will accept that because I do not know anyone else.
Yes, excellent. So
that leaves Roxy and
Rube.
And
Roxy?
Maybe Dolores Herbig.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about her. Roxy, I think I would pick the woman who plays in the reboot of the show that I've just forgotten the name. Oh, son of a gun.
That's helpful.
I know. You'd recognize her. Oh, I think she was also in oh my gosh. I've forgotten the name of every show I've ever known. Jane the Virgin. I think she was also in Jane the Virgin. Did you watch that ever?
No.
It's a good one. You should watch it. Justina Machado.
Oh, I know Justina Machado. She was
Mhm.
on Dancing with the Stars.
And One Day at a Time. That's the show I was trying to remember the name of it.
Oh, yes.
I think she would make an excellent Roxy.
I could see that.
She's got all the sass she needs. Um,
Who was I thinking of? I don't know who I was thinking of. I like that, but
I like her a lot. It was very sad when One Day at a Time got canceled.
I heard that. I heard a lot of people are not fans of that show getting canceled.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. There's one girl that she's a little younger than I think Roxy probably would be.
Mm-hmm.
And usually she plays nicer characters, but I think that she would be good at it. Her name is Jerrica Hinton.
Jerrica Hinton?
Yes. She played Stephanie Edwards on Grey's Anatomy.
Yes, I know her.
I think that she would be good for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
she does usually play nice characters.
Yeah, she does usually play nice characters. But Justina Machado would be good. I like that.
I really like her. So,
Rube.
I think this would change the direction of the show a bit, but I would be okay replacing him with Ted Danson.
Oh, I would not.
It's a very different show, but I love Ted Danson, like CSI Ted Danson.
Okay. I know. It's not the same emotional.
That's why I said it would change the show.
Oh, the problem is, okay, so my initial reaction for who is able to be loving, fatherly, and also want to kick you in the ass actor is, the problem is he already did replace him because, like I said, Mandy Patinkin's not in the movie. In the movie, the boss role is played by Henry Ian Cusick, who's exactly who I would have replaced him with.
See, I will say my other replacement that I would put in there that would like keep the show the same. I would put Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, I don't hate that. Or just because it's kind of the same role he already plays. But why am I blanking on the actor's name? James Pickens Jr., who plays Richard Weber on Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yeah. I love him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, because my initial gut reaction would be Henry Ian Cusick, but that's who they also initially chose to. So
yes.
Clearly I'm not that wrong.
I need to look up his face. Henry Ian
Cusick, Cusick.
Is he related?
No, that's Cusack.
You're right. I've seen his face. I haven't.
He's in Lost.
Oh, okay. See, I started Lost and didn't finish it.
He's in the MacGyver. He plays the team leader in the MacGyver reboot in the second half of the show.
So the only thing I've watched that he's in is Scandal, and I do not remember him there because it's been 1,000 years since I watched it.
Fair.
So interesting, but I've definitely seen his face before.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Or, and this would be a weird one, Woody Harrelson.
See, I feel like Woody Harrelson would be the same, like,
issue as Ted Danson.
Right. It would be the same path as Ted Danson.
See, but I don't know. I mean, Hamish, when he plays Hamish in
but
Hunger Games, Woody Harrelson has the ability to play fatherly more than Ted Danson. Ted Danson seems too buttoned up
Well, Ted Danson, he has a show. Oh my gosh, it's a newer show. I don't remember what it's about. He's a politician and he has a daughter, and it's just him and his daughter.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that he isn't able to be a dad. I know,
Yeah.
but he just seems so put together and like suits and like back up tight. Like
Oh
even
no, have you watched The
no,
Good Place?
I mean he wears a suit for most of his character in
Yeah,
The Good Place. No, it's not even him as a person because obviously like in Cheers, Sam was not
yeah.
put together, but I don't know, he just has that more rigid feel. Like he doesn't look like he's going to melt into the booth at the Waffle House the way Mandy Patinkin does.
I could understand that. I think Tony Shalhoub would be my winner.
I do like that. I like Tony Shalhoub.
Me too. All right, so that is our 2022 cast.
Oh yeah.
It
I
is
also think
2022
this is
now.
probably like the longest episode ever, and it's about nothing. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh, you
so
may have
sorry.
to like cut out like half the things we talked about because there were so many things we talked about. I just really wanted to recast the cast at the end.
I love that. I love that. We'll see you next week to start season 2 of Dead Like Me.
Yes.
You can follow us on all of the socials, which we have been very inactive on for the Christmas holiday, at Death and Aliens. You can follow me at EMKAY_superstar.
You can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And happy 2022, y'all.
We're going to hopefully make it.
Woo!
Okay. See ya.
Bye.